What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I want to do something a little bit different. Because see, the Origins Game Fair was held last weekend, and they had a bunch of awards, and one of the awards they had was for Best Collectible Game. And given that this is a channel where I feature many collectible games, I thought, right, let's dig into it, shall we? But let's not bury the lead. The winner of the Best Collectible Game 2019 was Keyforge Call of the Archons, the debut set of Keyforge. And this probably shouldn't surprise anyone. Now, I'll show you all the nominees in a moment, and I will explain to you essentially why they ended up getting nominated. And we'll have a quick talk about the criteria as well. But why did Keyforge win Best Collectible Game 2019? I mean, firstly, it's awesome. But secondly, it's new. It is a unique deck game. The thing about Keyforge, for anyone that doesn't know, well, I think regular viewers of this channel probably will, is that you buy a deck and that is a deck you play. You are not allowed to take cards out of or add cards into. You get a unique deck with a unique name, and that is the deck that you play from now until you decide to get a second deck, play a second deck, borrow a deck of a friend, etc. It's a completely new innovation. It's a new way of playing. There's no more buying a bunch of booster packs and putting a deck together. It takes deck building out of it. And then you're relying just on selecting the right deck and your play skill. And I think that's probably the main reason that it won. I don't know, but I would say that probably is. Now, it's also a fantastically fun game. I cover it extensively on this channel. I was lucky enough to be asked to commentate it officially over at the UK Games Expo a few weeks ago. I am not unbiased here. Having said that, I'm biased to like 3 of the games that were nominated and 2 of the ones that weren't, so, you know, just putting that out there. Now, I did have a look at the criteria here, and after digging through the website, it seems like you self-nominate. So, submissions for next year's awards, the 2020 awards, are currently being accepted, and the submission deadline is the 16th of November 2019. So it seems like you have to basically say, hey, in the past 12 months, this is the product that we want to put forward. This is what we think are good. And then they figure out the nominations and then figure out who actually goes and wins. And there's a couple of snubs I want to get to in a moment, but I don't know the answer here. But I've got to ask the question, were they not ending up on the shortlist because they didn't put themselves forward? Or did they not get accepted after putting themselves forward? I don't know is the honest answer. I wish I did. But that's generally how it works. And then there's a whole, they're actually called the Academy of Adventure Gaming Art and Design, and they are the people that make the decision as to the best game. So Keyforge won this year, but what were the other nominees? Well, there were a few. So what I'm going to do is go through and point out the thing that makes this particular expansion different, worthy of nomination. Because remember, all of the games I'm going to be telling you about here had multiple things released in the past year, but only one of them ended up getting nominated. So Pokemon Forbidden Light. Now, I believe you can only actually put one set forward to be nominated. I might be wrong about this. Why Forbidden Light? And for the life of me, I don't know. I love Forbidden Light. I've bought much Forbidden Light. It's a great set. It brought us a whole bunch of really good cards. Ultra Necrozma. Beast Energy. I could keep going, but you get the point. A lot of good stuff in that particular set. But Ultra Prism introduced Prism Stars. And then Team Up went and introduced Tag Team Pokemon. And Team Up would just have made the November deadline. So I don't know exactly why Forbidden Light was here. Yeah, I'm sorry, the information is not readily available. I found out everything I can. But I can tell you I don't think it was the best set to put forward. Dragon Ball Super Miraculous Revival, on the other hand, this was a very nice set indeed. Up until then, all of the leader cards in Dragon Ball had basically had an awakening skill whereby you flip the card over after it had depleted so much life. Well, now they brought in Wish Leaders, which are all about collecting Dragon Balls rather than having life depleted. It brought in the Age of Shenron. It was a new kind of thing. It was really fun. So that made a lot of sense to me. Now, Pokemon Keyforge and Dragon Ball, they are the nominations where I think I knew the most about them, but there were a bunch of others as well. Now, Lightseekers is a game I'm currently looking into with a view to potentially start covering it on this channel. If anyone's particularly into Lightseekers, anyone's got any hints and tips, whatever, chuck them in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter at @TheWassy. Lightseekers is a game I'm currently investigating. I met the dudes that make it at the UK Games Expo, and I'm looking into covering it, we'll see. But Lightseekers had the Mythical expansion nominated, which brought in a new rarity of Mythic heroes, which are cross-order heroes. Now, generally speaking, your hero is of a particular order. So, if we take a single order hero here, we could have a look at Crab Rider, which is Storm. But then the Mythic heroes, we could look at something like Farapang, which is both Nature and Astral. That's a pretty big change, ladies and gentlemen. That's a pretty big change. Cardfight Vanguard Unite Team Q4? Not so familiar with this one, but it was the first booster released in the Japanese and the English formats, and it brought in a new imaginary gift system, which from what I understand gives boost to some of your cards. So I can see why that one got nominated. Marvel HeroClix XMen Xavier's School. Now this is interesting because it's the only non-card game really here, although I'm aware it does involve cards. And this actually did return ID cards to the game. They cost points, they give you bonuses. It's a new mechanic, and that's what we see from so many of the nominees here, is that they are changing the game, bringing in new mechanics. They go and look what's different. And let's face it, the X-Men are popular, and this really brought in a whole bunch of X-Men from all over the timelines. And it led to the debut of such characters as Golden Balls. To be fair, right? Big fan of Golden Balls from both X-Men and from the Miles Morales comics, where he ended up as his roommate. So I love me some Golden Balls, but I'm not sure your average person probably does. Magic the Gathering had to be nominated, of course it did. Dominaria, it introduced historic cards. These are new categories of cards, and you get in-game advantages playing a deck that honours the rich history of the card, like this plane. And they also brought in Sagas, brand new enchantment to tell a multi-part story that weaves into the game and gives you a powerful final effect if you make it all the way to the end of this multi-part story. Cool. Magic's another game. I think over the summer, me and Magic the Gathering Arena are going to become good friends. As a teacher, I'm getting 6 weeks off over the summer, so I'm going to continue making me videos like normal, but I'm going to have a lot more time to play cards. Star Wars Destiny Legacies. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This made me want to start playing Star Wars Destiny. And this is a new base set, a new jumping on point, a new starting point for players. Now, if you've ever tried getting into a card game, you need a good starting point, and I love them for doing this. It also brought in a new dice symbol for indirect damage, which basically does a set amount of damage to your opponent's characters, and your opponent chooses how it's actually laid out among them. And it also brought in power action abilities that can be used once per round. And this is a fairly common thing in card games. These big, they're really good, but you only get to use them once per round kind of things. They're really good, but we're limiting your access to them. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions Death Campaign deck. I'm going to be honest with you, I did a bunch of research into this, and this is just a starter deck. Which is weird to me, ladies and gentlemen. It is the only game that put forward like, hey, look, here's a starter deck. All the others put forward new expansions. Warhammer put forward a starter deck. And I'll be honest with you, this confused me a little bit. Although, by all reports, a very good starter deck. And the final nomination was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Legendary Collection Kaiba box. Now this looks fun, I would love to get this for some other games. It's not really an expansion so much as a collector's set, which gives you 3 mega packs of 10 cards, containing 4 secret rare and 6 ultra rare cards, along with 5 promo cards and a game board. So basically it's just a pack you buy that chucks a bunch of rare and powerful cards at you. That sounds like fun to me. I would buy a set like that for any card game that I actually play. Now, there were a couple of games that I did feel a little bit sad to see not nominated. The Final Fantasy TCG was not nominated, and I had a look back through the history here, and the only time it was nominated was a couple of years ago for Opus 1. Opus 1 did get a nomination, but it's the only time the Final Fantasy TCG has been nominated. Maybe they didn't put themselves forward, maybe they didn't advance the game as much as some of the other games did. Because I tell you what, it's a heck of a fun game. That's why I've started covering it on this channel. But the one that makes me really sad is that the Transformers TCG wasn't nominated. And this was the first year it came out. This was the beginning. This was the start of it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how the game began, and not a nomination. Now, it might be that they didn't put the game forward, but Wizards did put Magic forward. So maybe it just didn't make the shortlist, which would be very sad because all of the major players are here. We've got Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, Keyforge, Star Wars Destiny, etc., etc. To not have Transformers on the list makes me genuinely sad. I can almost accept Final Fantasy not being on the list. As a side note, if it was up to me, it would definitely be on the list, but I can understand them saying, well, these other games have brought in new mechanics, blah, 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 blah. But a new game that's as much fun as Transformers not being nominated does make me a little bit sad. I hope they just didn't put themselves forward, because otherwise I'm calling that a mistake's been made here. But in terms of the winner, I've got to agree. I sat here for a weirdly long time this evening, doing a bunch of research into all of these expansions, looking at what they brought in, and you know by now of my love for Pokemon, and my love for Transformers, and my love for all of these games. But I really don't think that in the past year, any game has done what Keyforge did. And not only launched a new game, which incidentally has been extremely successful. The first fall it was out, it was the fourth most popular game. It jumped over Dragon Ball, and it was only behind the big three of Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! That's crazy good. But it did it in a format we'd never had before, which is pretty gosh darned awesome. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, the winner, the nominations, the snubs, the criteria. Hopefully that's told you everything you need to know about the Collectable Card Game Award from Origins, but I would like to know how much you agree. What do you think of the shortlist? What do you think about the winner? Go nuts in the comment section, but please remember to be nice. We've all got our favourites. We can all be nice about this. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter @TheWassy, where we talk about games. Like a whole bunch of the ones we've mentioned in this video. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching Wassy Plays.